It's after midnight, and it's time for conversations about love, family, friends, sex, and life. It's Love and Life with Carol Riddick and Donovan West, only on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media.
Well, hello there, family, and welcome to another episode of Love and Life on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media, on air and online at wordradio.com. I am one half of your dynamic duo. I'm Carol Riddick, but you already knew that. My partner in crime, Donovan West, is on a short hiatus, but he sends his love to each and every one of you, as always. You know, I tell you that because I want you to know. In the meantime, I am sending you love, hugs, and prayers. That's to each and every one of you, as I always do, because, well, family, you know, we're in the midst of so much. And sometimes we all just need that extra love. So I'm sending you some just to let you know that I care, because I do. I care about you. As a matter of fact, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you who reach out to us via email to let us know that you care. I cannot tell you how much we appreciate your emails and have you understand and know, because it's just such a sweet gesture. So thank you. It is greatly appreciated. Remember, you too can send us an email if you'd like to do so, and you can send it to loveandlife@wordradio.com. You could just simply say hello if you want to, or you can share ideas for topics that you'd like us to discuss, because you know we appreciate that too. Well, family, I've got something to share with you. Level Up is back for 2023, celebrating Women's History Month in partnership with WVON Chicago and KJLH Los Angeles, highlighting Black women-owned businesses who are making a difference in their communities. You can nominate your business or one of your favorite Black woman-owned businesses for a chance to become one of 5 finalists who will be featured in a special 2-hour live on-air Shark Tank style pitch party on Friday, March 31st. So the winner will be selected by a panel of corporate sector judges and will receive a grand prize, get this, valued at $5,000. Wow. Deadline for submissions is Monday, March 20th. So just visit wordradio.com/level up to nominate the best of the best in Black women-owned businesses. Level Up 2023 is sponsored by Comcast, Pico, Keystone First, Bank of America, and Livelihood. So, now that I gave you all of that information to digest, I want you to meet someone very special. In celebration and continuation of Women's History Month, happy Women's Day, by the way, we bring you yet another phenomenal woman. Do you hear me? Today's guest is the founder and executive director of the Colored Girls Museum right here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Also referred to as TCGM, the museum is a grassroots, place-based living museum whose focus is Black girlhood. The museum honors and memorializes the experiences of women and girls of the African diaspora. The first of its kind. Did you get that? The first of its kind. The museum is an equal parts sanctuary, research facility, exhibition space, gathering place, and think tank. I am so excited to introduce to you none other than Ms. VASHTI DUBOIS. Hello there, beautiful.
Hi, Carol. How are you doing?
I will not complain. Do you hear me?
All right.
Oh, well done. My mother used to say, I'm fair to middling.
Fair to middling.
No complaints here. I want to, again, thank you. I know offline I said thank you, but I really do appreciate you coming. We appreciate you coming to share your time and energy with us and to talk with us about this magnificent museum that I'm happy to share with everyone, because I told you I was so embarrassed that I did not know that it existed. No, I should know. Listen, this is something we should all know. I want to celebrate us. I love celebrating us, you know.
I know, but I always tell people find out about the Colored Girls Museum not a second sooner than they're supposed to know about the Colored Girls Museum. So we are never late. We are right on time.
That's a word right there.
And thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
So before we begin talking more about the museum, because I want our family members to know everything there is to know about it, I would love to share with them who you are. So please tell us about you.
Well, okay. So the thing that's at top of mind this morning, as I shared with you a little bit earlier, is that I'm a Brooklyn girl. So I've been in Philadelphia for going on 22 years now. Raised my family here. So my youngest is 24 and my oldest is 35. What? And just added the second grandchild to the mix, the first granddaughter who was 1 month old yesterday, which is hard to believe. Time flies so fast. Oh, and so wow. I'm really, 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 really excited about that. My background is actually in theater. I'm a theater artist, and I trained as an actress and then went to school and became a theater director. And, sort of cut my teeth on that in Brooklyn, New York, where I spent a lot of time after I went from school back to New York City, primarily directing one-woman shows. And when I moved back to Philadelphia, I've spent over 30 years in the nonprofit sector, much of it really working on issues that are significant to girls and women. And, the other part of my brain, which if you visit us at the Colored Girls Museum, you'll see, is that I'm also like a book geek. So and I'm an agnostic reader. I will read just about anything. So I collect hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books.
Oh, I love that.
And so that's one of my favorite things to do. So, I'm a mentor, I'm a grandmother, I'm a mother, I'm a sister friend, I'm all of those things. And I'm really excited to be here and talk about who I am in the context of the Colored Girls Museum.
I love it. First of all, congrats on the new grand princess. I didn't catch that the first two were boys. I thought there was just one. So congrats on the first grand princess. You got, two grand princes, and now you got a grand princess. So congrats, because I know the boys are spoiled, but I know she is going to. It's going to be.
It won't be me. It will be my daughter. It won't be me. And what it is that I have two sons. I have, an older son who's 35, and I have a younger son who's 24, and then I have my grandson who's 9 years old, who is just like the sweetest big brother ever. So I'm really, really excited for our family.
I am too. Congrats again. So I don't know if I missed this when you were saying, what brought you to Philadelphia?
Well, we moved to Philadelphia almost a year after the Twin Towers were bombed in New York City. So I met and married a classmate of mine from junior high school. I met him in Boston. And we're both Brooklyn folk. And so we moved back to Brooklyn, New York. Mm-hmm. And we were there for almost 2.5 years. And then, as I said, the Twin Towers were bombed. My family was primarily in Brooklyn, but my daughter and I were actually in Harlem, but on opposite sides of Harlem, because I worked at the Children's Art Carnival at the time. Okay. And it took us about 7 hours to get from Harlem, like 169th Street, back to Brooklyn that day, because all of the bridges and roads were closed. I mean, it was And my daughter, who was 12 at the time and going to school in Harlem, she actually wound up going home with her godmother that day because it was just too difficult to try to get to the other side of Manhattan. And so not long after that, I said to my husband, it's hard going back and forth to Manhattan because they have like the little kiosk by the train station, which would tell you what the alerts were for the day. So if it was a yellow alert, a red alert, and so you were always reminded, right? And so getting on the subway and just that, that repeat trauma going back and forth to work. And so, we decided that we would look at Philadelphia because I had lived here before, but that's what brought us here.
I am listening to you talk about the stress and anxiety of reliving the moment.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine, but we're happy to have you here. We're happy to have you and your family here. I mean, look, we've got a museum as a result of you coming back to us. So we will take that silver lining. Okay. I will call it a silver lining. So I'm curious to know, when you were in New York, were you considering starting a museum while you were there?
No, as I said, so when I was living in New York City, I was actually working for an organization called the Children's Art Carnival.
Okay.
Where actually the Colored Girls Museum will be partnering. And that's really exciting with the Children's Art Carnival next fall to bring one of our traveling exhibitions there, which I'll talk about in a bit. But the Children's Art Carnival was in this beautiful grand brownstone on 167th Street. And an organization which had been around for a very long time. And really just about anybody, especially in New York, who was in the visual arts community, came through the Children's Art Carnival because Children's Art Carnival was founded in the 70s, and there really weren't a lot of opportunities at that time for visual artists for Black visual artists in the city of New York. And the Children's Art Carnival not only became that place for sort of emerging artists, but they taught young people. They had a really robust teaching program and some amazing teaching artists. And so when I started working as a program director at the Children's Art Carnival, as a theater person, one of the things that I was struck by was just like the building. I've always had a great love for buildings. And I said to my then executive director, I said, I really think it would be so powerful. I mean, there's art up because it's the workshop space, but imagine this house, this brownstone, this grand, and it's a grand damn brownstone. To imagine it as more exhibition space. And that never got off the ground. But it stayed in my mind that really a really sweet place to have exhibitions is, of course, in a house. And many people don't know that the history of museums are houses, right? So before the grand structures that you see, like PAFA or Barnes, and actually Barnes is a really good example, right? Because Barnes himself, before the museum moved to the Parkway, it was in his house, and that collection, and those were his gardens. And so, but all museums do have a history of beginning in houses. So we're just falling back on an old time.
I love that. I'm so, first of all, family, I want to apologize to you because I've not yet been to the museum, but guess what? I am going. I am going to go, but I want to know so much about the museum. I have so many questions. So what types of exhibits can we expect to see at the museum?
So the Colored Girls Museum is in a Victorian twin.
Ooh.
And there are 8 rooms in the twin. And so every room is now an exhibition space, although every room holds its original character. So the bedrooms are still bedrooms, and the kitchen is still a kitchen.
Oh,
So the art is curated
wow.
into that space, so that when you're traveling through a home. We'd not attempt to not make it what it was. And when the museum is now in her 8th year, and we call her she's a her.
Me. Oh my gosh.
So that so there's art and what we call artifact, right? So there are artifacts in the museum from my family. There are artifacts in the museum that people have loaned to us or given to us. And then, of course, there's a lot of contemporary art in the museum. Primarily, we show Black girls and Black women. And if you know a little bit about what's sort of happening in the art world, it's always really surprising, but it is still the case that Black girls and Black women are shown less than other folks in museums and exhibition spaces.
Indeed. Yeah, I'm glad you did mention that, which is exactly why I'm so excited to share you and the museum. But I too have a love of architecture. So I was glad when you said that, I kind of perked. I was like, oh, me too. But then when you began to describe the museum, that makes it even more interesting to me, because the character of architecture is just so that's where I find that's where my interest lies.
Every house is a story.
Yes.
Into itself. Every house is a story.
Yes. So how do you determine what exhibits go in which room? Is there a process for that?
Well, there is. And so a bit of history before there was ever a Colored Girls Museum in that house, right? So that was the house I raised my family in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, and now have turned it over completely to the Colored Girls Museum. And the Colored Girls Museum started 8 years ago. My husband was actually killed in a car accident 9 years ago at the end of this month. And that was the impetus for the Colored Girls Museum. But prior to that, my husband was a musician. He was a singer. So we're both artists. And we loved doing things in our house. And one of the things that we did was a project called Eviction Proof Peep Show Home. That was in 2012. So you may remember that in 2008, and I mentioned this because Eviction Proof Peep Show Home really gave us the template for now the Colored Girls Museum. First of all, it allowed us to see that the house wanted to perform and could. So Eviction Proof Peep Show Home was a show about a house fighting to keep her family from foreclosure. So the story was being told from the point of view of the house instead of the people. So the house was staging the people. The people weren't staging the house. And the house really wanted to get as much attention for her family as she could so that she could tell her story and their story. And so we put much of our house in storage so that the house would empty out and you could feel the potential movement of the family. Oh, wow. And then we invited, I think, maybe about 10 artists to occupy every room in the museum. And we were still living there.
Oh, wow.
Over the rooms to tell their story of foreclosure. Because, of course, you can be foreclosed on in a home, but you can also be foreclosed on in a relationship. You can also be foreclosed on a job. Like, there are all these ways that you can be foreclosed on. And we did that particular show because in 2008, you may recall, the housing market was just, it tanked. And so many people, including my family, were really struggling to hold on to their homes. Properties were upside down. And so my husband at the time was working as a foreclosure prevention specialist, of all things.
Oh,
he said, and Philadelphia had one of the first pilot diversion programs. And that program really helped homeowners who were in distress figure out how to modify their mortgages so that they can stay in their homes.
I want to just interrupt you. Well, I don't want to interrupt you, but I must interrupt you for just a moment so we can take a short break.
Sure.
Family, if you've just joined us, you're tuned in to Love and Life on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media, on air and online at wordradio.com. And we're talking with Vashti Dubois. We're talking about a lot of things. So what you want to do is you want to stay with us, okay? Because we're going to take a short commercial break, but we will most certainly be right back.
I remember this one moment. I ran to kind of the water edge, and my mom said something along the lines of like, now it's your turn. Take that first step. When I became a mom myself, I feel like my whole world changed. There's some light within her that makes me continue to do the climate science work that I do. You don't have to be a climate scientist to want to protect the earth. As moms, we care about our children and the environment they grow up in. And for Mia, I want you to know that I worked really hard to be a part of the change and to make it a better place for you.
Email from school about the incident today.
Scary.
Tell me about it. Did you have any idea that was going on?
None. I mean, you saw Derek at the game last night too. Did you have a clue?
No, but you know, teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do. Kids hear first about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
It can be hard to tell sometimes, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, bullying, violence, anything, you need to tell an adult. Mom or me, a teacher, coach, school counselor, someone you know and trust.
Dad, no kid is gonna tell an adult about that kind of stuff.
I get it, but if we don't know, we can't help. Speaking up about a problem, that's what helping a friend is all about.
You know, a lot of people say when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. For her to see her father celebrate his graduation, that's the best feeling in the world. I can't lie and say it was easy. But sometimes you just have to stop everything and take it in. I looked at everything in a different light. I realized it started with me going back and get my high school diploma.
We're often influenced by what we see or hear on social media. Beware of disinformation campaigns targeting Black communities by using cultural issues to incite divisions, spread false information, and negatively influence public opinions. We're in this together, and together we can stay informed and empowered. Learn more at nbcit.org. This public service announcement is from the National Black Cultural Information Trust.
I'll be here to hear what's on your mind. Take this time to talk and get it right. You know I'll be there all your life. When you need me, I'll be by your side. By your side. And every day is a different day. Everything isn't everything. Even when you think things could never ever be the same. Don't be scared of the world, I'll be here to stay. By your side. Even when your heart ain't listening, or your mind takes you a different way, towards a different path. All you gotta do is sit and ask. When you need me, I'll be by your side.
When the adults in a child's life talk early and often about the dangers of underage drinking, the message gets stronger every time.
I'll be by your side.
Talk. They hear you.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black media.
Well, hey there, family. Welcome back. You're tuned in to Love and Life on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media, on air and online at wordradio.com. Our guest today is none other than VASHTI DUBOIS, who is the founder and executive director of the Colored Girls Museum, which is located right here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I have to keep saying that because I'm embarrassed to tell you that I did not know it existed. I am Vashti because listen, I love us, I tell you, and I love to support us. So I will be there soon. But I want to say, I did not want to interrupt you when you were speaking earlier, but I do want to express my condolences to you on the loss of your husband. Here on the show, we talk about everything under the umbrella of love and life, but we oftentimes have couples on as our guests too. And I would have loved to have had you and your other half on here to talk about your love, because my takeaway listening to you is that you guys, you definitely you are soulmates. And I'm hearing you talk about the love that you both have for creativity and for art, and how he was a musician. And you know, it's just I love hearing and listening to you talk about your love story as I'm listening to you talk about everything else. But I love the compliment that the two of you were to each other, and how much the two of you are such a compliment to the creation of the museum, how it's all, you know, it all came about, and how the house and the family. I'm telling you, if you were not here a few moments ago, you've got to go back and listen to her talk about the house, because as a fellow lover of architecture, I love how you explained it, and how you talked about the different rooms and having the individual guests come in and then talk about foreclosure and the different areas to which it can apply in life, because there's so much truth to that.
True.
And there's so much healing in communication and sharing. So I appreciate you opening that door, because you know, we don't always want to share, but it makes it a little easier when you have a hand outstretched to you, or you have a smiling face that says, it's all right, you can talk to me anytime. So thank you to you and your family. But please tell us more about the museum. Family, you know I like to talk. Now, y'all know. But family, so please tell us more about the museum.
So what I was saying is that the Eviction Proof Peep Show Home was the first project, and that, you know, it was a 15-minute show.
Mm-hmm.
My late husband was the master of ceremonies. You came in through the front door, and he led you through. He started on top floor, led you through every room that had been curated or was being curated by an artist. And you could take a peep. You could just, and if you remember, the thing about that period in time when so many people were losing their homes is that it was a source of great embarrassment. People didn't want to talk about it. And so one of the reasons we did the show was that, you know, I said to my husband, well, maybe if we made theater of it, like it would be a way of like having the conversation, right? But you're not asking anybody anything, but you're putting this conversation out in the world. And so, and there was something about what was happening with foreclosures that was so voyeuristic. Like you know, they were talking about it on TV. You would see people's stuff, you know, on, you know, online. There were photographs of people's belongings in the street. In places like Florida, alligators had moved into people's pools. So it was a really tough period for folks. And so Eviction Proof Peep Show Home was really an opportunity to just open up that conversation for our communities. And when I say that really became the template, it became the template for how the rooms get curated, because now we also invite artists into the museum and pair them with rooms in the museum under whatever the specific theme is. So we did Eviction Proof Peep Show Home, which is about eviction and foreclosure. But in the last 8 years, we've done shows that deal with sleep disparity, you know, in the Black community, titled A Good Night's Sleep. We've done a show called Urgent Care that really looks at, you know, what do we already know as people of the African diaspora about how to respond to urgent times. We did another show that was really asking people to think about the disappearance of so many Black girls and Black women. And so we're really able to use the museum as a space that has the art having a conversation with our guests about some of the things that are actually impacting all of us in our communities in these different ways.
That's so important. It's so important. I'm happy to hear you say that, because as you know, we don't have a lot of outlets. We don't have a lot of venues that are providing that those types of resources and information. So first of all, I would like to know, are you still hosting those shows, those types of shows or shows that are focused on today's issues? And well, quite honestly, we're still losing our babies.
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is, like we like to say, we museum differently, right? So it's not it's a dynamic space. We tell guests when they come, the art is in conversation with the other art in the museum. The art is in conversation with you, the guests. And the tours change all the time based on the people who are on the tour. So the current show that's at the museum is titled A Good Night's Sleep. Sit a Spell, an Invitation and Invocation. And Sit a Spell has two parts to her. Okay. We have an exhibition at the Philadelphia airport right now. And that's Sit a Spell. And so that opened this season for us. So if you're in Terminal C, getting ready to fly out or fly in, please stop by and say hello to Harriet's Girls in Terminal C. They'll be there until the end of April. They've been there since July of this past year. So Harriet's Girls are there. And then at the museum, we will officially open the spring show this upcoming weekend. And this is Sit a Spell, an Invitation and Invocation. So in this show, we invite our guests. We have curated the house so that there's spaces where we clearly are inviting you to sit. That is the invitation, to just sit a spell, right? And then there's some spaces that are invocation spaces, where we are asking you to consider, what is it that we need as ordinary colored folks to invoke, especially girls and women at this time when we are really really struggling to keep our heads up, because there's so much coming at us and it seems counterintuitive. But what the museum is offering is, don't do more. Consider doing a little less and just sitting a spell. Sit with this.
Okay. The one question I have not asked, and I know some of our family members are saying, Carol, what's wrong with you? Where is the museum located?
The Colored Girls Museum is in Germantown. It's on Newhall Street, 4613 Newhall Street, in a Victorian twin. And, those of you who haven't been to Germantown, you're missing out. There are 16 historic houses in Germantown. We are not one of them. We're not a historic house. But when you come to Germantown, there's so much, there's so much history. You could spend a day really just sort of educating yourself about what the Black folks are doing, right? There's the house, there's the Writers Museum, there's Stanton House, there's Historic Germantown, there's Lest We Forget, there's the Ace Museum. There's really just so much going on. You could just, and there's a new gallery, Ubuntu Gallery. If you haven't had him on your show, you need to have him on your show.
Why, thank you.
But there's a lot going on in Germantown, and we're happy to be part of it.
You said that right. A lot of history, a lot of culture, a lot of amazement in Germantown. I'm in full agreement with that. So I know I keep looking at the clock, and I hate that because the time goes by so quickly. So not that you even need this, but you were telling us about the shows that the museum offers and some of the different things that the museum offers. Are there programs that you all offer as well?
So the Colored Girls Museum, obviously, like other institutions, we are just, One Room Schoolhouse, which was our last fall to spring show,
Mm-hmm.
Closed, and that really focused on the impact of the pandemic on Black girls. Like the museum was really, every room had been was transformed into our version of a one room schoolhouse. And so the artists work into those spaces were really asked to think about, how all of us really, our homes became, one room, everything. We did everything out of these spaces. But what is the impact on Black girls, right? During a time where, you're called upon to help your parents more. You can't see your friends because we're in a pandemic. Like, how are we doing? How are Black girls doing? So the Colored Girls Museum has always had girls programming. And so those are some of the programs you can look for from us, and you can find out about that on our website. This year, we're actually partnering with a sister from the University of Penn who's doing a girls literacy project. So you want to check her out. And what's really exciting about that, so they were at the museum last Sunday for a brunch.
Okay.
And as soon as you say something like girls literacy or just literacy, people automatically think about books. However, there are many, many literacies. And as colored folk, we need to be educated about how to read all the signs, right? There's a kind of literacy that you have to have when you're like looking at art in the Colored Girls Museum. Like, how do you read those walls, right? How do you read a map? That's another form of literacy.
Yes,
it's not just about reading a book. How do you manage social media? That's another kind of literacy. And so this sister is really working with young women between the ages of 13 and 17.
Oh, great ages.
To expose them to all the ways in which literacy is defined. And so we're really excited to be partnering with them. Should you visit us at the museum, we're also building a docenting program just for young people. So learning how to docent is really, you're learning the art, but you're also getting really, 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 really comfortable with having to speak to other people, having to speak about something. So, it's a performance art in its own way. So it's theater.
First of all, I'm so excited. I'm just bursting with all of this energy about the museum. I'm proud for you, and I feel grateful for this information. Family, I know you feel the same way that I do. I know you do, because you guys love the same stuff that I do, most of it anyway. And this, just the cause, everything about the museum sounds so wonderful that I cannot wait to visit. I cannot. So what we're going to do in a moment, we're going to take a short break. But when we come back, I'm going to make sure you all have the location again, the website address visible to you, so you can write it all down, all of that good stuff. Don't rush, because I'm going to make sure you have it. But in the meantime, as we take a break, just digest all of that good information that you just received from none other than Ms. Vashti Dubois about this wonderful place that we are all going to visit. How about that? When we come back, we're going to find out what's next with and for the museum. We're going to talk more about what's going on with the partnership between the museum and the Children's Art Carnival. So families, stay with us, because again, you already know we're coming back with some great information that we know you want to know. Okay. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
I'll never forget the day I nearly died. I was a young journalist with a great career, starting a family. The only way we found out I had any kind of heart issue was when I went into sudden death. My coworkers sprung into action. They've recently been trained in life-saving CPR protocols developed by the American Heart Association. They're the ones that kept me alive until the medics came. They did many tests on me in the hospital after my cardiac arrest and created a treatment plan, all with research from the American Heart Association. I think unless you are a heart disease patient, you may not know how much work the American Heart Association does behind the scenes to save your life. Since my cardiac arrest, I've had 2 more children. I've watched all 3 of my children grow into adulthood. I'm going to cry now. Graduate from college. My daughter got married. I have grandchildren. And I'm still here.
Learn more about the American Heart Association's work at helpheart.org.
Imagine you on a deserted island all by yourself, or even being in a crowd of people yet still feeling alone. That's what being a victim of sexual assault can feel like. Victims of sexual assault are at an increased risk for developing depression, PTSD, substance abuse, eating disorders, and anxiety. Sexual assault can happen to anyone and is any unwanted sexual contact such as unwanted touching, fondling, groping, or even rape. No always means no, so speak up and speak out. It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Everyone loves a champion. Someone whose performance puts them head and shoulders above the rest. But not all champions wear a medal or hoist a trophy. At the U.S. Center for Safe Sport, we see champions everywhere we look. In every sport, on every court, we're building a foundation to ensure all athletes are safe, supported, and strengthened. We believe abuse can be prevented by taking a hard look at how we coach, how we train, and how we interact after the last whistle. We have provided over 2 million safe sport trainings. At the U.S. Center for Safe Sport, ending abuse is not just our job. It's our promise.
The thing that drives me every day as a dad is him. Every day he's hungry for something. And there's this huge responsibility in making sure that he's a good person. I think the advice I would give is you don't need to know all the answers. It's okay to make mistakes. As long as it's coming from love, then it kind of starts to work itself out.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tanya Hopkins, aka The Food Griot, the host of Savory and Sweet, a new show about food, history, and culture. Savory and Sweet is a flavorful exploration of food marinated in the Black experience, seared with history and braised culture. Each week, I'll fold in conversations that center food and drink at the intersection of business, health and well-being, entertainment, education, and innovation, while separating the facts from fiction on the sometimes surprising origins of what we eat and drink. So join me, the Food Griot, and special guests for Savory and Sweet, Food, History, and Culture every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. exclusively on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, Independent Black Media.
Well, hello there, family. Welcome back. You are tuned in to Love and Life on WURD, Progressive Black Talk Media, on air and online at wordradio.com. For those of you who are just joining us, welcome, but you're late. No, just teasing. We have been talking with none other than VASHTI DUBOIS, who is the founder and executive director of the Colored Girls Museum, which is located right here in Philadelphia, PA. And before we went to the break, I said, okay, I want to make sure you have all the pertinent information that you need so that you too can visit the museum. So guess what? I'm going to do just that. I'm going to make sure you know that you can visit the the website of the museum. For our family members who are listening and cannot see this information at the moment, the website is listed, and it is www.thecoloredgirlsmuseum.com. It's simple and easy, right? It's so simple and easy. I love it. And for those of you who are saying, well, I got that already, well, good. Just know that there's so much more information there that you can find out. One thing I want you to know, the Colored Girls Museum will also be dropping a podcast. Is that not correct? This month?
That's correct. And it is called The Girlfriend Kit, Ask a Colored Girl.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Oh my goodness. Make sure
we're going to begin promoting. You'll find it on our website and all our social media.
See that? You can go to the website, and all of the social media outlets are listed on the website as well. So you can make sure you follow the Colored Girls Museum on all of the outlets. And one thing you should know, though, because we did not talk about this, that the visits to the museum are by appointment only. Now that's important, but you can schedule it through the website, which is listed right there on your screen. So see what I said? I told you I was gonna give you everything you need. The other thing that you definitely want before we remove this information, which is the website, www.thecoloredgirlsmuseum.com, is the address. You want to know because you want to know where you're going. It's located 4613 Newhall Street, and that's in Germantown, which is right here in Philly. Okay, so I did all that. I made sure you had your information. Really, really quickly, can you tell us about the partnership between the museum and the Children's Art Carnival?
So even before I tell you about that, I do want guests to know that Dasha, DeSaint, and I are actually going to be teaching a course with the Alternative Art School, and it's virtual. The Alternative Art School is a virtual art school, and there are 2 fellowships available. We're actually teaching a poetry course called Spoken Spaces. So if you just Google Alternative Art School, you'll get all of that information, and 2 fellowships are available. So 2 people can take that course, can take our course and another course through the Alternative Art School free of charge. It's a scholarship. So do check that out. If you've been trying to get back in your poetry bag, that's
there you go. And it's on the website too. Is that information on the website?
Not on the website, but it's going to be on all of our social soon.
Okay, so quickly, maybe 2 minutes. Can you tell us about the partnership?
Yeah,
you tell me. You can tell I'm excited.
What's happening is that, in many ways, I got my beginning in thinking about visual art through the lens of a theater person when I was at the Children's Art Carnival in New York. And so the museum was always designed to travel. It was always our intention that she would pop up in places certainly all over the country, but all over the world. And so for the very first time, the portraits, which were part of our last season show called Harriet's Girls, will be traveling to New York City to the Children's Art Carnival, where we will partner with them to identify 4 artists who are from New York to do portraits of muses that they select who are between the ages of 6 and 18. And so this is a project. If you come to the museum, you'll see these portraits. If you're at the airport, you will see these portraits, but this is a traveling portrait museum, essentially. And her first stop is taking us back to my home state, New York City, and really back to a place that had so much influence on how I think about the work that I'm doing right now. And also, before we go, you're remiss in not shouting out Erica Hawkins, who's our program associate, DeSaint, who's actually the co-host and the co-producer on Ask a Colored Girl, and the Girlfriend Kit, and Ian Friday and Michael Clemens, the co-founders of the Colored Girls.
I love it. I love it. I just love you. You're just so fascinating. I love it. I love it. I'm so glad that we were able to shed a spotlight on you, the museum, your family. Once again, congrats on your new grand princess, you and your family. I'm just I can't wait to come to the museum. So family, I too will be joining you. I will be going to the website, okay, which I'm listing again, which is www.thecoloredgirlsmuseum.com. All one word, thecoloredgirlsmuseum.com, to get my tickets. So hopefully we can go together. You let me know when you're going. Email me. Let me know when you're going. We can meet up. We can meet up and go together. I don't mind that. We can make it a party because I want to celebrate. You know, like it is. And I keep telling everybody, y'all know I like to celebrate us, but you know I do. So, in any event, congrats on everything that you're doing, that you have done, and that you intend to do, because you now have our support. As well, you know, mine and you know, the troops. We're coming out.
I love
that's
it.
right. That's right. So family, happy Women's Day. Happy Women's Month. Happy Women's Life. Okay. I mean, where would you be? Where would you be? You wouldn't. So, you know, this that time where I hate this time. And anyway, in any case, as we wrap up tonight's episode, we extend our utmost gratitude to you, family, as you continue to support Love and Life. We couldn't do this without you, but you knew that. Special thanks to our guest, VASHTI DUBOIS. I just love your name, Lord.
Thank you.
VASHTI DUBOIS. Okay, for sharing your time, your energy, your attention, and the information with us. We love the love that you've shared. Thank you also to the entire WURD family. Thank you, y'all. Family, I say this to you all the time, and you know I mean it. We are all in this together, okay? So be good to you, but be good to those around you. Have a great night, have a great morning, and have a great rest of your day. And be sure to join us at midnight, Sunday through Thursday, for another edition of Love and Life right here on WURD. Progressive Black Talk Media. Have a good night, y'all.
Good night.
Stand with WURD Radio, Pennsylvania's only Black-owned talk radio station. Join the movement to keep the conversations going and amplify the voice of the Black community. Show your support. Start or renew your 4WURD membership today at wordradio.com or call 215-425-7875.
You know, a lot of people say when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. For her to see her father celebrate his graduation, it's the best feeling in the world. I can't lie and say it was easy. But sometimes you just have to stop everything and take it in. I looked at everything in a different light. I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made her college years happen. Opening that education savings account when she was little. Spearheading a campus tour. And another, and another, and another, and another. Bam! Deciphering financial aid. She was like, what? Now she's like, you aced planning for college. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
I'm Naheem Hines, professional football player for the Indianapolis Colts. Becoming a running back was no easy task for me. But it's nothing compared to what my amazing mom faces every day. My mom was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy when I was 14 years old. Yet she's always there for me, every step of the way, despite her own battles. And the Muscular Dystrophy Association is there for my mom. At their 150 care centers across the U.S., MDA is the leading organization in research and care for kids and adults with muscular dystrophy, ALS, and related neuromuscular diseases. Their research is helping find cures and save lives. Watching my mom go through her daily struggles and the care she receives from MDA has made me determined to help find a cure for neuromuscular disease. That is why I support MDA, and that's why I'm so grateful to others who do too. Join me and learn more at helpmda.org today.
I remember this one moment. I ran to kind of the water edge, and my mom said something along the lines of like, Now it's your turn. Take that first step. When I became a mom myself, I feel like my whole world changed. There's some light within her that makes me continue to do the climate science work that I do. You don't have to be a climate scientist to want to protect the earth. As moms, we care about our children and the environment they grow up in. And for Mia, I want you to know that I worked really hard to be a part of the change and to make it a better place for you.
Imagine you on a deserted island all by yourself, or even being in a crowd of people yet still feeling alone. That's what being a victim of sexual assault can feel like. Victims of sexual assault are at an increased risk for developing depression, PTSD, substance abuse, eating disorders, and anxiety. Sexual assault can happen to anyone and is any unwanted sexual contact such as unwanted touching, fondling, groping, or even rape. No always means no, so speak up and speak out. It's on us to stop sexual assault.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media. Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, Philadelphia. Black